are y'all doing today? It's good to see all y'all, and it's good to see you, Chris and Carissa, so welcome. So today I want to keep it simple and practical for y'all. I want to show you and kind of talk about 3 ways that you can develop a strong relationship with God. Because the whole purpose of why we're here and what we're here to do is we're here to draw from God and have a strong relationship with Him. And then He will give us our purpose and our strength. Just kind of to flow with what you were saying. The way that you find what you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do is from developing a strong relationship with Jesus. So developing a strong relationship with God is a lot simpler than most of us would think. When we view God, a lot of times we view Him like He's just the man upstairs, or He's like a distant spiritual being. But in reality, He's all around us, and He's with us, He's in us, and He wants to speak with us and commune with us and have a relationship with us. So as it is true that God's in heaven, He is also around us, and we're made in His image as well. So we're made and designed to be like God, and He is like us. So when there's 2 beings who are similar, we're to relate and have a relationship with each other. So 3 ways of building a strong relationship with God is to acknowledge God in our lives and to become close and aware to become close to Him and aware of His presence around us. And there's 3 keys that I want to talk to y'all about today. And the first one would be just speaking to Him. Just having your prayer life, your conversation with God. And a lot of times, this can get convoluted and kind of you can think that it's super hard to pray and talk to God and stuff, but it's actually very simple. You literally just speak to Him like you speak to one of your friends or someone that you know, someone that you love. You just have that confidence to speak to Him in a personal manner. And 1 John 5:14 states, "This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask for anything according to His will, He will hear us." So it's pretty well known in the Bible that it's God's will for us to be close to Him and for us to have a relationship with Him. So it says here that if we ask for anything according to His will, He will hear us. So God wants to be close to you. He wants to hear from you. So when we approach God, we can come boldly and we can come confidently to Him. That when we want to develop a relationship with Him, go deeper with Him, He'll be there to help us and to help us do that. And also James 4:8 says, "Come close to God, and He will come close to you." So when you approach God and you're just speaking to Him, you just come up like you would come up to one of your friends. And as soon as, when I see Iz, I say, "What's up, man?" And then he goes, "What's up, big guy?" And that's kind of me relating to Iz, and then him relating back to me. And at that point, we're able to draw closer together, and then we're able to, accomplish whatever task we're doing, and we are in good standing and good relationship, and we feel close to each other. So the second key I want to talk about today is just to learn to listen to God. And there are several different ways that you can hear from God. And I'll list them out real quick just so I can cover the bases. But you can hear God through the Bible. You can hear God through sermons, worship, other believers. And you can hear Him through spiritual books, that line up with the Bible. You don't want to just be reading any spiritual book, but biblical spiritual books. You can hear from God and you can listen for Him, and He'll speak through that. There's been many times that I've sat down at my Bible or at my book, or any of these, but I've sat down in an effort to draw close to God and hear what He wants me to do, or just talk to Him and have communion with Him. And just He'll just kind of come in, and it'll be subtle, and I'll just feel Him. And it reminds me of John 10:27. It says, my sheep listen to my voice. They know me, and I know if you walk into a room with people who know you, they're going to recognize you. And so when God walks in and you know God, you recognize him and you recognize his voice. And so you listen for him and you speak to him. And then thirdly, I want to talk quickly about the third one is kind of the one that is not as common, I would say, but I've always found, this is from personal experience, that the more that you tell others about Jesus, the more that you learn and you grow and you also feel close to Jesus. There was a time whenever I was a teenager and I didn't really know a whole lot about the Bible at that point. I mean, I knew the basics, the basics, but I didn't know a whole lot. But I remember I was sitting and talking to one of my friends about Jesus, and just revelations were coming out of me that I didn't know that I knew, or that I didn't know, and God gave them to me while I was speaking to the dude. But when you tell others about Jesus, it creates that fondness in your heart, and you like, it's like when you're talking about your grandma or something. Who had a good grandma? There you go. Grandmas are awesome. Mimi's too. But I remember when we lived in Florida, my childhood, and my grandma, she lived in Arkansas, where my parents were raised. And I remember it didn't matter if I was sleeping or if I was awake. I always could feel the railroad tracks that we would go over right before we got to my grandma's house. And I'd hear kaboom, and we'd go over the railroad tracks. And like this, just love came into my heart, this warmth, that I knew I was getting close to my grandma's house. And I missed her, and I knew that when I walked in her house, it was going to smell like Tide, and she was going to be there greeting me with a big smile and a hug, and probably a toy too. But I remember just walking into her house, and it was cold one day, and it was so warm when I got in, and I thought, she's a really good grandma, and she really makes me feel like I matter to her, and that she loves me. But even in telling y'all that story, I started missing my grandma a little bit, and I started feeling like that feeling of where I want to see her, and my love for her grew because I told y'all about my grandma. And it's the same with God. When we speak about God and we tell people about God, our love for him grows and our fondness grows for him. So the 3 keys that I just want to overview real fast, and then I'll be done, is you speak to God and you have regular conversations with him just like you would with someone that you know and love. And then you listen for him and you recognize his voice. Like if my wife comes in the room, I know that it's her. I can just feel her. I know it's her. I recognize her. She doesn't startle me. I feel comfortable with her. So that's how we can be with God as well. And then telling others about him. So I encourage everybody that you can have a much stronger relationship with God than you think you can, and it's way easier than you think you can, than it is. So I think with that, I'm just going to hand it over to Dad, and thank y'all for listening to me.